Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes. This day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Oh, I do not like how high up that is. You want to know something? I'm going to go to a... No, I can't even go to that view. Maybe if I just... Let me try something here. I do not like this view. I do not... This isn't going to be 4 hours, by the way. Oh, I don't like that either. I'm going to talk while I... Now, let's just leave it at this. Who the hell cares, right? You guys, the framing doesn't have to be perfect. This is not going to be another 4 hours of entertainment, hopefully. Hopefully it'll be entertainment, but not for 4 hours. And hopefully no profanity, but if I wait at least an hour, that is really good for the algorithm. Of course, the shameless grifting is along the bottom, but I have more than made up my November goal. But as usual, any super chats received during this... Oh, Dave, you're right on time. Received during this show will go towards the Massachusetts trip. This was intended, though, to be a lot shorter than it probably is going to be, because the gymnastics that the LNC is going through, they're worthy of a gold medal. At least a bronze medal. They're quite the contortion artists. Some of them are remaining wisely silent, though the ones I thought would continually remain silent have said something in the past hour. And it's very, very amusing. Very amusing. first of all, personally, I started a new job today. Yay for me. But I didn't get any sleep last night. So I'm not entirely on my game today. And that's why this isn't going to be 4 hours, because I am going to bed after this. I've got some other work to do, but I hope to sleep for a while and then maybe get up really early and then do my work. Now, at first, I was obviously, well, this still isn't at first. Obviously, I'm not pleased with the JC decision. But I'm more pleased with it today than I was yesterday. Because the LNC did not read the decision very carefully. Because the JC put the LNC over a barrel. In one way, I'm a bit resentful of the JC opinion, the majority opinion. Mike, I don't know if I can call you after the show. I have to sleep. Literally. I slept in my car for an hour before coming in here and doing this, because when Wayne brought me home from work, I didn't have enough energy to get out of the car. So, how do I even put this? How did I even put this? I forgot where I was going with it. So, anyway, they didn't read the decisions very carefully. And at first, when I was writing the JC, I was put in the, for me, rather unsavory position of defending the LNC. But you guys know me. I stand up for what's right. I told Chuck Moulton that he said something that I believe it is demonstrably false and fatally false. And we're going to look at it. And the way the LNC has danced around this, I would say it's moves worthy of Fred Astaire, but Fred Astaire was a good dancer and the LNC is not. Let's say it's dance moves worthy of Elaine Bennis. I do not think yet they have understood the implications of the JC decision. And I think anyone who understands the implications of the JC decision, the JC has just ensured that none of those 11 will get reelected. Thank you, Chuck Moulton. I don't think that was your intent. So we're only going to look at mainly one portion of the JC decision. But we're going to go to some other portions when I show you the way the LNC tried to dance around it. So talk amongst yourselves a little bit. And Shannon, you got to get Tim Pool to get me on his show. Because I've got a lot of tales to tell, don't I? But let me in the background. Oh, I already had it up here. There was an argument made about severability. And it's a very important argument made about severability. I don't think the LNC members who are answering members who wrote them realized what they signed onto. Let's look at that first, because that's going to be real important, because it's going to show you that they're liars. Either that or they don't read what they sign. Let's look at the filing of the response to my appeal by the LNC. And I'm looking for one specific thing. 1 second here. Oh, I'm allowed to grift now, Ryan, aren't I? I'm not on the LNC. Okay, let's look at the first thing. Okay, there's that. Don't want that. I want this. Okay, here's what they argue. They said the causes cited by the LNC are amply sufficient to justify the petitioner's suspension. Now notice they say that the causes are cited by the LNC. As noted in the motion and by several LNC members, petitioner's conduct, blah, blah, blah. They admit here that the causes are part of the suspension motion. Furthermore, they say the causes are severable. This is their argument. Even if the Judicial Committee found all but one to be somehow flawed or insufficient, the result would be upholding the suspension unless no cause stated was permissible. Okay. Now, let's go to the JC opinion. Severability. I'm not going to use the words appellant and respondent and all that. It gets confusing. It says that Harlos argues charges in the Bill of Particulars are not severable. If any one of them is found to be not within the meaning of for cause or found to have insufficient evidence, then the whole case fails and the JC must order reinstatement. And I stand by that. The LNC argues they are severable. If any one of them is found within the meaning of for cause to have sufficient evidence, then the JC should affirm. Now here's the important sentence where the JC stabbed the LNC in the back and they haven't seen it yet. LNC members voting affirmatively for this motion thus indicate they agree with all ALL of the charges listed. Therefore, striking some of the charges should not and does not signify lack of support for the others. The charges are severable. The ruling of the majority of the JC was that the effect of the LNC members' yes votes was support for all of the charges. There's a therefore. This therefore means one thing follows the other. Let me word this a different way so it is clear. Because the LNC members said they agreed with all of the charges, it doesn't matter if some of them don't have support. The opposite is also true. If they didn't agree with all of the charges, if some of them were found to be invalid, the whole thing should be struck. This sentence right here, actually it's two sentences. The majority opinion stands or falls on this sentence. If the charges are not severable, then it doesn't matter if some of them are false, as long as one of them is true. But if they are, I probably worded that wrong. Let me put it to this way. If they're a bundle, they all have to be true. If you can unbundle them, exactly, Otto, then the whole thing falls. This is the most important sentence or two sentences in the JC's opinion. I argued back and forth with Dr. Moulton about this today. And he confirmed that my understanding is correct. He disagreed with me in my defense of the LNC. This is what I said to Chuck. I said, Chuck, you said something objectively false. I do not believe that all 11 LNC members agreed with all the charges. I'm defending the LNC right now. I do not believe that. Therefore, you slandered them in what you just said there, because you are saying that every single one of those 11 members agreed that I violated the membership pledge, and I know for a fact that they all do not. Mike, I can't state it any clearer. Otto, perhaps you can. Maybe I'll try, because I think you got it before, so I don't understand. Let's just read the sentence. LNC members are voting affirmatively for this motion, meaning the yes votes of the LNC mean that they agreed with all of the charges that were in support of my suspension. Since they agreed with all of them, as long as one of them was sufficient to remove me, it doesn't matter if some of the other ones weren't, because their yes vote indicated they supported all of them. If their yes vote did not indicate they submitted all of them, it would be questionable that the one that the JC found to be sufficient had 2/3 of a point. For instance, if, say, I think they found the harassment and offensive behavior one supported. I don't agree, but we're just going with what the JC said. Right, Ryan has it down. If the LNC members, by their yes vote, didn't agree that all of them, with a 2/3 vote, on their own were sufficient, then they would have had to poll each LNC member to decide, okay, we found this charge sufficient. Did you agree with this one? But the JC said no. The effect of choosing to simply vote yes means that they take the responsibility of agreeing with all of the charges. Michael Meehan, I agree with you. I do think the actual documented discussion indicates that they didn't even know what they were suspending me for, other than that they didn't like me. But that was not the JC's ruling. Now, technically, the JC is correct. Technically, If someone votes for something, say a senator, an omnibus bill that's 800 pages, and they didn't read the whole damn thing, the fact that they voted for it, they are responsible for it. However, when I'm going to go after somebody, particularly when we're not talking about an 800-page bill that no one would have time to read, I prefer to go after people for what they knowingly and willingly consented to. So I think Dr. Moulton did a grave injustice to the LNC in this statement, but he stands by it, and technically he's correct. The only person I think you can really hold this to knowing exactly what they were doing is Laura Epke, being a former senator. But technically, if you vote for a motion that has certain support for it listed as part of the motion, and I'm going to show you where they're going to claim it wasn't part of the motion, you are voting for the whole thing because you could move to strike or divide. Divide is another word for sever. Right now, LNC members are arguing it wasn't a type of motion you could sever. Yet, in their response to me, they argued it was. You can't have it both ways. Right here, LNC argues they are severable. If they are severable in the JC decision, they were severable at the LNC meeting. They cannot have it both ways. Gregory, I probably could have done a request to divide. It probably would have been in order for me to, but why would I do that? I didn't think any of them had merit. And Ryan, that is what I argued to Dr. Moulton. I defended Susan, believe it or not, even though I think she's a scumbag. I argued to Dr. Moulton, and I'll show you the emails, because I don't consider emails between myself and Dr. Moulton got extremely childish to me. I told him he wronged Susan because he kept trying to say, this is what Dr. Moulton said to me. It's not my fault if the LNC now has buyer's remorse. I said, Chuck, Susan repudiated the NAP violation before the vote. It is not buyer's remorse. She did this publicly on her social media page, or at least appeared to. I'm giving her the most credit I possibly can. And he said he didn't care. She voted for it. I have more integrity in my little toe than she has in her whole body because I defended her. So the JC just put the LNC over a barrel. The LNC cannot both say that the JC supported them and say that they don't think I violated the NAP pledge. They can't have it both ways because the JC opinion stands or falls on the severability issue. I think the emails are important, Brian, because they're not private. Emails between parties and the Judicial Committee are public. Chuck Moulton and I had a couple private instant messengers. Those I wouldn't publish his side. But the emails, he copied the entire JC on them. They weren't private emails between himself and me. He copied everybody. This is his argument. I gave him a chance. I asked him to issue an amended opinion because I told him he was. You can see exactly what I say. I don't want you to. I do not want you to think that I am trying to make myself look good here by saying I defended the LNC. I'm going to prove to you I defended the LNC. Now, somebody said, what can we do to force the issue? Nothing. The first thing I did when I noticed this, because I read it more carefully than the LNC did, is I asked the JC to consider rescinding their decision and issuing a new one. Their new decision could still have removed me. What is the remedy when the LNC votes for something without realizing what they voted for? Laughing them out of town. That's the remedy. There's nothing else we can do. Yeah, I wouldn't leak private emails, Ryan. I never do that. You may have noticed, even when it comes to executive session email, not executive session, secret email list emails that I don't even think should be secret. The only ones I ever reveal are my own because I own my own emails, that I do not reveal other people's emails unless it's to uncover fraud. No, Gregory, I don't think Arvin did that. Nick did that. D. Frank Robinson mentions that in his opinion. So I hope we're all clear here on how all of you people who wrote the LNC, how either A, they didn't really read this opinion, or B, they didn't understand it, or C, they are lying. Neither of those three options are flattering. And I think it's a combination of both of them. So, this is why I asked people that, to me, reading what you want to is a form of lying, Ryan. But I understand your point. It could be a form of self-deception that is kind of like you believe your own lie type of thing. But without this paragraph, the fact that they found some of the charges to be without merit should have defeated the whole thing. Let's look at the ones. Review of evidence is moot because this is not a valid cause. Which one was this? The NAP membership pledge. John Phillips lies and says that the JC said I violated the MAP pledge. He lied. They said right here, this is not a valid cause. Now, Alicia went a little further, but remember, she's a minority opinion. What I'm reading from you here is the majority opinion. The majority opinion, which Alicia signed on to, and then just added some things, is the opinion of the JC. Let's see what else they said. This is the one that they upheld, which is wrong, but we're just going to be objective here because criticism isn't harassment, but this is the one they held to be fine. And here's another one. They said was not a valid cause. And this was the social media policy. You had people who were so careless in removing an officer that 2 of the evidences they submitted were not valid causes. I think those were the only 2. Okay. I think that was it. Okay. Yeah, that was it. But do you all see what I'm saying now on how they put the LNC over a barrel? Going to be obtuse now after explaining something, Ryan Brown says. The LNC opinion is that every 11 members agreed you violated the NAP. The JC disagrees you violated the NAP. Correct. They could have struck that. They could have made it a separate charge. What the LNC members could have done, I think there were 5 different charges. They could have made 5 separate motions and removed me 5 separate times in case any one of them was deemed to be insufficient by the JC. That would have been the safest thing to do. Or they could have just stuck to their strongest one. But the JC ruled, what the JC ruled that they cannot deny without denying the entire ruling of the JC is LNC members voting affirmatively for this motion thus indicate they agree with all of the charges listed. The LNC cannot repudiate that without repudiating the JC's entire decision. They are painted into a very painful corner. And if there's no appeal from a JC decision, which there isn't, just like I am stuck with it, they are stuck with it. Now, let's go to some emails. Again, these are not private emails. These are emails which were copied to the entire JC. It starts with cause for rescission. Let's make this big. Here's what I wrote to the JC. I have examined in detail the rulings. The statement in the majority opinion is false. And I cited what I just showed you guys. LNC members voting affirmatively for this motion thus indicate they agree with all the charges listed. Therefore, striking some of the charges should not and does not signify a lack of support for the others. That's an argument, Greg. I believe they are. My parliamentarian disagrees with me. And here's what I said. I'm defending the LNC. LNC members have publicly repudiated several of the charges. Ms. Hogarth, for instance, repudiated the NAP violation and said her vote did not mean that. The issue of severability thus rests on a false statement. Not deliberately false. I didn't accuse Chuck of lying, but it is in fact false. If the severability is not true, the case files. The JC can rescind any time before a new secretary is appointed. Rescission does not require that you be on the winning side. I urge, and Gregory, we're going to get to that. We do not know for a fact that 2/3 of the members agreed on any given charge. They were never asked. It's the JC's opinion that the fact that they voted yes on the entire thing means that they did. I urge the JC to ask the 11 members to testify on this issue. This is too important to ignore as it subverts the will of the delegates. Notice I defended Susan Hogarth. You could tell there was a lot of emails here. There was some between me and, I'm going to close this window for a second because there were some private ones between me and D. Frank that I don't feel at liberty to share. Only the ones that were shared with the entire JC. Those are public. Let me find, there's the one between me and me and D. Frank. Okay, now here's what Chuck's statement to me was. And this was CC'd to the entire JC. I will not share anything private. It is not a false statement. It was a statement of what voting for such a motion means in a legal sense, not of what individual voters may think it means. If LNC members had buyer's remorse afterward, voting for something they don't agree with, that's on them, and they could have reconsidered or rescinded before the JC ruled. The whole process was messy and poorly executed. In this instant, it would have been much cleaner if the chair had polled each member as agreeing to each charge, much as a jury is polled. I agree with him. But resolving questions like this goes to legal and parliamentary norms of the severability doctrine, which are that, in general, a vote for a motion indicates support for everything in the motion. Appellant seems to be, and that's me, seems to be grasping at a hyper-technical straw at every step of the process, blah, blah, blah. I was trying to defend the LNC. It's over. Let's all move on. Appellant will win re-election anyway. That's Chuck's opinion. Appellant seems intent on placing all the blame on the LNC. He doesn't understand I'm trying to defend the LNC here. And then going on and getting all personal with me. Okay? But I just wanted to show that he agreed with my interpretation and defended it. Okay? I'm coming back here for a second because I don't want to inadvertently reveal a private email between me and D. Frank. And then this is what I said to Chuck. He's the only one. There was one public email with Frank. So what I said to Chuck was, you should have asked them rather than assuming. I'm defending the LNC again. That is loyally doublespeak. That would have taken very little effort. And Hogarth, I'm defending her again, repudiated it before the vote. The delegates were owed more care by the LNC, true. But they were also owed that care by the majority. You imputed something to them, meaning the LNC, without asking. You do not know that they understood those ramifications and consented to everything. I don't like this LNC, obviously, but my objection here is just as much for their sake as mine. One of the most critical findings of the majority is false. I thought we cared about truth. It's easy for you to say move on. We would never accept such an oopsie from the state. Both I and the LNC deserved better than that. And that opinion just inflamed the party against 11 people, some of whom do not deserve it. Notice how I'm defending the LNC here. Simply washing your hands and walking away does not remove the slur from their character and does not give me justice. The party of principle should be better than that. I was defending the LNC. Okay, just want you guys to see this when you start to see the way the LNC responded to members about me. I have character. I will defend anybody if I think they're right. Okay, there's a bunch of private conversations. And then here's Chuck again. And I'm not saying Chuck is technically wrong. I don't care about technicalities. I don't care if something's technically true. I care if it's actually true. Okay, let me show you the remainder of the discussion. This is not the procedure anywhere. No appeals court ever polls each legislature asking, did you really mean to support everything in that statute to determine severability? We go with the record we received. He's technically correct. And then he's going on arguing about my character again, missing the point. Your notion that the JC should invent a new severability procedure that has never been used anywhere, polling each LNC member a month later to find out whether they really meant to vote for what they did, is not only meritless, it's ridiculous. No, it isn't. It's fair to the LNC. The JC has ruled, the process is over. I agree with him. I'm trying to be fair to the LNC. Here's what I said. You made a claim they support something they did not. Don't get mad at me because you said something wrong. It is factually, fatally, and objectively wrong. It does injustice to everyone, including the LNC. I want you guys to notice how many times I defended the LNC here. Because then he went and argued about something he didn't like about me. I said, because he didn't like the show I did yesterday where I talked about how I thought people have changed over the years. My personal opinions on how I think people have changed over the years was never brought up in my email and is highly inappropriate for you to be bringing up in a formal request, and by your own standards, you just harassed me. I made a formal request on an objectively true error of fact that you made, and you attack me based on personal opinions I said elsewhere as a private member. This is totally inappropriate. And he doubles down. I'm going to go to Wagonator. Wagonator says, I'm not sure I agree with the judge's decision. Oh, no, I'm the wrong one. No, Ryan Brown, excuse me. To be read endearingly, I would just call the LNC clowns and move on, but I appreciate your autistic defense of justice. It is. I want justice for everybody, not just me, for them too. And here's Chuck. My statement was both clear and true. It's not true. It rested on the legal and parliamentary meaning of voting for something. Okay? It is completely irrelevant for our purposes whether someone votes for something they don't actually believe in. The whole purpose of voting for something is to legally signify support for it. He's technically true, but he's not actually true. And I ended with, have the last word, Chuck. This is childish. And that was the end of our conversation. Now, I want you to keep in mind how many times I defended the LNC. I defended the LNC more than I defended myself. Just want you guys to see that. Okay, now let's go back here because I want to see what else I can share to show you how the LNC obscured this and defamed me, though I didn't do the same to them. But here's the fact. The LNC is over a barrel. Chuck is technically correct. I don't know anything about the Kyle thing, Wagonator, so I can't say if I agree with you or not. I've been really wrapped up in this, to be honest with you, so I don't have an opinion on something I'm ignorant of. Gregory, I don't know the answer to your question. So, I asked members to write the LNC and asked them if they agreed with the JC decision, in which it was ruled by the majority that they agreed with all of the charges. Now remember, you have to keep this in mind, because they're going to try to say the charges weren't part of the motion. They can't have it both ways. And their response to my appeal, which every single one of the 11 members that voted for this signed off on, said that the charges were part of the motion and were severable. They can't have it both ways. So they either have to accept that their vote means that they believe I violated the membership pledge, or they have to repudiate the JC's decision and reinstate me. That's the only choice they have. The power is in their hands now. The JC said they can't do anything about it. I don't agree with them, but that's their decision. Now the only people who can do something about it is the LNC, and I am going to confront them with this in Massachusetts. But let me show you their excuses. But their excuses betray what they said in the official filings. Okay, let me see what I can share. Now, Whitney has said that member emails to the LNC on official LNC business are not private. But I'm going to try to only share their responses, because the LNC, the members pretty much just wrote, like they copied and pasted what I asked them to write. Okay, let me try to find something here. It's going to be difficult to do this, so I'm just going to read them out loud without showing you. John Phillips said, you should read their statement again. They very clearly said that fraud and harassment were included in the NAP, and fraud specifically mentioned in the SOP and platform. That wasn't the question. They did say that fraud, let's go look at it, because John didn't read it carefully. They said there was no merit to that. They did not say I committed fraud. We asked specifically about the membership pledge. The membership pledge, if I violated, warrants expulsion from the party, not just the LNC. So John Phillips is just wrong. Let's go look at the JC decision again, because I do disagree with the JC decision, no doubt. But John Phillips is wrong, and he didn't answer the question. So let's pull back up the JC opinion. Excuse me, didn't mean, hold on. I'm sorry, I've got a million different screens, and I'm trying very carefully here to protect privacy. Okay, let's go back to the JC decision. Let's specifically look up the word fraud. They did say something, though, that I just noticed that I'm going to challenge them to prove. Actually, I'm probably not going to write the JC. We'll look through the evidence ourselves some other show. Hold on. Why didn't my search come up? I'm looking for fraud. Okay, that's talking about employment law. That has nothing to do with anything. Appellant. This is talking about me. I argued that it applies to violent force or fraud. .4, the LNC argues that the non-aggression principle includes both force and fraud. They go on to repudiate this. The membership pledge does not include the word fraud. It said that the LNC was drawing this from a broader NAP, but that isn't what I was accused of. So they go on to say, conclusion, this does not fall within the meaning of cause. So John Phillips is entirely incorrect. But let's see where else fraud might be mentioned. But he's wrong. John Phillips is just wrong. Because he's too emotional. Okay, we went through all this. Went through that. Okay, this is Alicia Matson's minority opinion, which isn't the majority opinion. She doesn't accuse me of fraud. She says this is about freedom of association. Fraud is mentioned by D. Frank, which means they have to be deprived of property. And he denies it. Okay, so nowhere in here was I accused of fraud. So John Phillips is either lying or wrong. I invite him on the show to show me where they accused me of fraud. They did not. But there is something I want to look up here because Susan said they accused me of threats. I never threatened anyone. The only thing I did that could be accused of a threat, which wasn't, was that I asked members to write the LNC politely. That is not a threat. Okay, here's where the word threat appears. Talks about employment law, which Chuck decided wasn't relevant. Again, he just says that it could include threats. He says these are possibly on point. He did not say I threatened anyone, and I did not. And the Bill of Particulars says I threatened people without any proof. All it says here is that there were allegations of threats. I never threatened anyone. I'm a pacifist. Okay, none of this accuses me of threats. I challenge anyone to show where I threatened anyone. In their evidence folder, the threat, allegedly, was because I asked members to write the LNC. Okay. Let me put my face back up here so I don't violate anyone's privacy. So John Phillips is completely incorrect. Richard Longstreth. Speech to me is not a violation of the NAP. Good, Richard. Repeated speech or talking points is not either. Speech repeated to the point of harassment, defamation, and libel are violations of the NAP, he claims. A, I did not harass them. I criticized them. They consider the criticism defamation. I consider it true. Libel and defamation are the same thing. I know one has to do with written, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. He just repeated himself. Truth is an absolute defense to that claim, and public figures, it's very difficult to prove that against. And he says, if you ask them to stop and they continue to criticize you, that's a violation of the NAP. All right, Richard, you are disqualified from being on the LNC as far as I'm concerned. Criticizing people, even when they ask you to stop, is not a violation of the NAP. It says if multiple people have the same experience with you, yeah, I criticize multiple people. But you want to know who I never criticized? Dustin Nana, Stephen Nikala. There's a bunch of people I didn't, so clearly there was a difference. I'll take a look at it, CJ. Thank you. Abuse is always a violation of the NAP. Richard, when you wrote me and said that I was trying to make you commit suicide, was that abusive? By your definition. So he is claiming harassment is a violation of the NAP. I criticized him. I did not harass him. I will continue to criticize him. And the question was about the membership pledge. Richard, I expect you to move to expel me from the party. If you really believe that. Okay, let's see what else here. Susan says, I'm in agreement with the JC ruling on each particular charge, which means that she agrees that I did not violate the membership pledge. Therefore, she's not in agreement with the JC ruling. But here's where she defames me. According to Richard, she just violated the NAP. I'm sure we both have more important work to do for the party than rehash these decisions. I don't think there's anything more important to the party than finding out if the LNC understands the foundational philosophy of the party. Ms. Harlos is continuing to seek and cause conflict within the party. No, I'm continuing to seek and find out what you believe. I defended you, Susan, to the Judicial Committee. I defended you. I don't choose to consider engaging in such destructive behavior, yet you just slandered me, Susan. Susan is by far the worst person on the LNC. And I defended her. Susan refuses to answer that she agreed with all the charges listed. Okay, so that's one response to a member. The member is in chat today. You know what I'm reading. Thank you very much. Now we're looking at CJ Abernathy since he gave me permission. And, you know, I got accused of talking down to members. John Phillips has talked down to members. I did a podcast on John Phillips where he told Andy Jacobs, because Andy Jacobs dared to question him, that he would never vote for Andy Jacobs for a committee ever again. And he says to her, CJ Abernathy, says, I think someone who speaks to a servant, because he called her a public servant, in your tone of combined threat and derogation is behaving shamefully. All CJ said to her was that he was going to get on the mic at Reno and condemn what she did. If you thought I was higher than you, such a tone would be understandable, but you call me a servant, then proceed to treat me like dirt. Do you want to know what Susan said to a chair of a Libertarian Party who asked her a simple question as to who the legitimate chair was Delaware was? You want to know what she said to that chair? Can you put your father on the phone? I need to speak to an adult. That's what Susan said. I don't have permission to share the screenshot. You can believe me or not. When you are willing to speak respectfully, she's willing to listen. How about you, Susan, telling a chair that's not even in your region to put their father on the phone because you want to speak to an adult? Let me tell you something. Stephen Nikela will back me up, even though he's the perpetual nice guy. Susan talks to everybody like this. That's how Susan has always talked to me. I'm hoping to get the permission to share that screenshot, but I do not yet have the screenshot. You have to take my word for it that she actually told an elected chair. And if you knew what chair it was, you'd be even more angry. Put your father on. I want to talk to an adult. Who the hell does she think she is? She's always like this. This isn't new. Now, was CJ aggressive in his email to her? Yes. We are elected to take that. If you don't like what a member says to you, don't respond. That's the option. Do you want to know how many rude emails I got from members when I was on the LNC? I ignored them. Because it's my job to take it. I chose that. Susan always talks to people this way. Why do you think I call her the hall monitor? Okay, let's see if we have any others. Yeah, here's one. I don't think it's any different, but let me check. Oh, Tim Hagen. Tim Hagen claims that the causes weren't part of the motion, so could not be severed. That is in contrary to what he signed in his response to my petition. The motion says that I was being suspended for violation of bylaw Article 6, Section 7, which requires cause. Therefore, the cause which they listed in the Bill of Particulars is, in fact, part of the motion. He is incorrect. He says the question could not have been divided. Yes, it could have been. Even the JC said that. That's what Chuck said should have been done. So he's wrong. He is absolutely wrong. And there's something I want to look up here that I'm not sure about, because I think he's wrong on another. John Phillips talks down to people too, but not nowhere near as much as Susan. Okay, there's one other thing I want to look up that I'm not sure about right now. Just give me 1 second. But Tim Hagen is absolutely incorrect. I'm trying to look at my minutes because he made a representation about my minutes that I think is wrong, but I could be wrong about it. Aha. I did include the Bill of Particulars in the minutes. So let me go to my suspension motion, which got really confusing. Ruling of the chair, ruling of the chair. Okay, he's wrong. that it couldn't have been severed. Let me show you this. Sloppy, sloppy Tim. It was part of the motion, even in my minutes. I thought it was. I'm usually pretty good at minutes. Here's the minutes. Dr. Ebke moved to suspend Karen Ann Harlos as Secretary of the Libertarian National Committee as provided for in the bylaws of the Libertarian Party, Article 6, Section 7. And you see that little footnote 5 down here? See Appendix X for the Bill of Particulars. That is part of the motion. CJ, do I think you threatened anyone? I think you threatened to tell them off. There is one sentence you said, if I'm going to be completely honest, that perhaps they could have interpreted it as a threat, but it would have been an interpretation. You did not say it explicitly. You said that you knew a lot about them. Somebody could have interpreted that as a threat of doxing, but you did not threaten to dox them. What you did say was that you were going to get on the mic, and you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that. They don't like it, too bad. But no, you did not threaten anyone. They could have read something into that. That's on them. Okay, and the Bill of Particulars, let's go look at that. It's Appendix X. Yeah, your tone was aggressive. You're allowed to be aggressive. Members are allowed to be aggressive. We signed up for that. You think you were aggressive, CJ? Ask Mike how aggressive he was. He called them a bunch of chowderheads. Hold on one sec. I'm looking for Exhibit X. This is the IS Committee report in which Liz did a fantastic job. It's really long. Exhibit U. Where's Exhibit X? Exhibit V. Exhibit W. Exhibit X. Come on, come on, come on. Bill of Particulars. This is part of the motion. Karen Ann Harlos is hereby suspended as Secretary of the Libertarian National Committee for the following causes. It is part of the motion, Mr. Hagen. How can you be secretary when you don't even know what a effing motion is? And it does not say that I have engaged in X or B or Y or Z or AA. It says I engaged in all of these. It is not severable. Okay, but I want to talk a little bit more about that severability because I think Chuck is fatally flawed in another way. Now I think the most fatal flaw is what I've already explained. But for Chuck to say that it's severable because if they agreed with one of them, that's sufficient, that's enough. No, it's not. Because he can't read the mind of the LNC members. The LNC members may have thought that one of them by themselves wasn't enough, that it was the totality of the circumstances. So Chuck is wrong on both counts, fatally wrong, and he's too proud to admit it. Now, he could be right, and in one person's case, he is right, because David Sexton said on the record that any one of these charges would have been sufficient. So he is correct when it comes to David Sexton. He does not know that, nor can he assume that for the rest of the LNC. The rest of the LNC, for all he knows, didn't divide it because they didn't think any one of them on their own was sufficient. It was the totality of the circumstances. Chuck, I'm sorry, Chuck, I think you are brilliant. You are a big brain. You have 2 PhDs. I couldn't manage to get 1 PhD, but this bear of little brain can see that you are wrong here, and your pride is getting in your way. This is why, and Chuck, I have never insulted you the way you insulted me in those emails to me. I will say again what I say about Chuck. I do not question his ethics. I question a lot of people's ethics, such as Susan's. I do not question Dr. Moulton's ethics. I question his judgment. And the smartest people in the world can have bad judgment. So I hope I'm clear here. Let me see if there's any other emails that I need to go over. We don't know that, Michael. That's why I asked him to pull the LNC. And that was just too much trouble. I guess it's just too much trouble to make sure you're overriding the will of the delegates. Don't you guys feel respected? And Justice Graves is correct. Okay, that is it. Those are the only LNC members that bothered to mention. Ms. Bilyeu didn't bother to answer. I think Ms. Ebke did, and I missed it. But she said the same thing as Tim, which was wrong. Valerie Sarwark didn't bother to answer. TJ Ferreira didn't bother to answer. And in general, I like TJ. I think he lost his damn mind on this. But you notice I don't mention his name very often because I think he's a big cuddly bear. Chris Lucchini, who's a snake in the grass, didn't bother to answer. Erin Adams kept her mouth shut. She let John Phillips speak. I don't know who else I'm missing here that voted yes. So I hope I made myself clear here that the LNC cannot have it both ways. They either all agreed that I violated the NAP pledge, in which case they should all resign immediately from the LNC because they have no judgment on the core principle of this party and our bylaws. They do not understand the bylaws. Or they repudiate the JC decision, in which case they should reinstate me. They lose. Either way, they're boxed into a corner. I hope everyone understands now my point where I say that the JC has the LNC over a barrel. Justice Graves, you are correct. Okay, I'm just going through here a little bit. And CJ, you also did make it clear that you were separating out your personal comments from your question. Susan lecturing you like that was absolutely inappropriate, but you're not the only person she's done that to. And thank you very much for the super chat, Michael Meehan. I don't think I had a chance to thank you. And CJ, thank you so much. Okay, I think I answered comments. If I missed somebody, please, please let me know. Okay, CJ wanted to bring up the comment. The comment. I want to bring up the comment as well. Let's go to my Facebook page. There were two gals on my Facebook page who took a joke super, super seriously. We all know the sweet meteor of death comment, right? Where we all wanted the sweet meteor of death to win election. It's a joke, obviously. I mean, obviously, it's a joke. One second here. I'm having trouble. Ryan said he was 100% behind. But there's some people who took it so seriously. So I decided to, and one of these people were so serious that they thought I would be offended if the joke was applied to me. So to prove that I thought it was hilarious, I did this. And CJ ordered the shirt. Please order the shirt just because it's funny. And thank you, CJ. Let me pull this up. I made this shirt. If it takes an asteroid hitting Earth to get rid of Karen Ann Harlos, then I will vote for that asteroid. That's how offended I am by applying it to me. And then on the back, which I think you guys will enjoy. Yeah, they're offended. They're offended by this. There were two gals, not everybody. There were just two gals that were super, super offended by this. But I want to show you the back of this shirt because I don't know if you saw the back, CJ. On the back, it says monetize the hate. Oh my God. Yeah. So I am definitely buying the if it takes an asteroid to get rid of me, I'm voting for the asteroid shirt. Please buy this shirt. Buy my merch. Let me tell you something about myself. Let me come back up on the screen here. Monetize the suspension. I like jokes about myself as long as they're funny. I don't like bad jokes about myself. But good jokes about myself, I laugh my ass off. That's why I love the Wayne shut the door thing. Because it's hilarious. But I don't like lame jokes. Listen, I'm ridiculous. There's a lot of things I do that is ridiculous. And I love a good joke about myself. The funny thing is, too many people think they're comedians and they're not. Now, the fact of voting for an asteroid to get rid of me, because I think half the people on the LNC would seriously mean that, I think is hilarious. I think that is absolutely hilarious. So feel free to roast me. Listen, guys, nothing would mean more than me if somebody would host a roast for me. But get Dave Smith to do it. Oh my God, I would die for Dave Smith to roast me. Oh my God, I would die for that because he would be hilarious. I just don't like bad jokes about me. Because I don't like unfunny people. But funny jokes, Oh my God, I would love it. I would love it. So yeah, please buy the Let's Have an Asteroid Hit Earth to Get Rid of Me. Because the LNC moved heaven and earth to get rid of me, but couldn't bring themselves to condemn COVID. If it took a worldwide pandemic, oh my word. Oh my word. So please buy my sweet Asteroid of Death shirt. Oh my word. Okay, I think that's it for me tonight. I am extraordinarily tired. It has been an hour and a half. I didn't expect it to be that long. But I hope I explained myself well, so that you could see the predicament that the LNC is in. And I don't know whether they're just being willfully ignorant and don't see it, but I know they watch these videos because Susan's my first dislike. I wonder if there's a dislike yet. If there is, that means Susan's watching. Let me go see if there's a dislike on this video yet. If there's not, maybe I'll dislike it, because I think that'd be funny too. 1 second. So at first I was really ass mad about that JC decision, but now I'm laughing there's one dislike. It's Susan. Oh my God. That's great. That's just great. Okay, guys. I'm gonna get going. I do want to end with a couple things. Chuck, I disagree with you entirely in the argument you picked with me. However, I will say it once again. I never question your ethics. And you know me well. That's the highest compliment coming from me. Because ethics, to me, are more important than nearly anything. I do think you were acting like a child in your argument to me. But you want to know what? There's been plenty of days that I act like a child. Now, for you to criticize me for throwing everything at the wall in my defense, I had to, because they threw everything at the wall in their accusations against me. And you, in attacking me for that, is blaming the victim. Oh, Ryan Brown, thank you for reminding me to be a good grifter. Follow me on Twitter. I've been on fire on Twitter lately. Oh my God, if you guys haven't watched Twitter, I want to show you something. Oh my God. Ryan, now you're going to make me talk for another half an hour. I just want to show you something on Twitter that made me laugh my ass off. I'm having too much fun on Twitter. I don't know why I avoided it for so long. Because it turns out that I actually enjoy shitposting a whole lot. But Chuck, I'm not trying to cause a fight with you. Let's go to Twitter. Let me find exactly what I'm looking for. It's been a while. Oh my God, it's been forever. I can't find it now. Okay, here we go. Liked. Tweet. Okay. Let me pull this up, because the tone deafness. Now, in a way, I feel bad, because our Twitter is ran by volunteers, okay? But the volunteers are under the supervision of the LNC. If I were these volunteers, I'd quit. Let me pull this up. LP National. NBC News says the Wyoming Republican Party will no longer recognize Representative Cheney as a member of the GOP in its second formal rebuke for her criticism of President Trump. LP National says, tell me you don't care about principles, but just about devotion to one man without telling me you don't care about principles, but just about devotion to one man. And they got roasted. Here's the first response from not an LNC villain. The fact that somebody calls themselves that is just hilarious. Well, the LP National doesn't care about principles, so you'd know Ray ousting your secretary after she called out corruption. But it gets better. It gets better. Okay, that was the first response. That was the first response from not an LNC villain. But now I want to show you my responses. Let me go down here. I said, just like no one calls the LNC principled either. So there's that. Because somebody said no one called her. Here's Becca, a staff member, says no one called her principled. So I responded, just like no one calls the LNC principled either. So there's that. Now, Becca, who's a staff member, has no business arguing with members. That's completely inappropriate. And then someone else said, why do you care more about Cheney's due process than about Karen Ann Harlow's? And then somebody posted this to me. Oh my God. Oh, let's go back. They were getting roasted. And then somebody said, oh God, you're going to invite her to join the LP, aren't you? Talking about Liz Cheney. And you want to know what I said? She's the new secretary. I'm such a shit poster on Twitter. I can't help it. I just have way too much fun on Twitter. And then someone said to me, there's a lot of funny jokes surrounding this joke of an LP National post, but this, you cut me deep. And then I said, laughs in Sarwark. Oh, I have way too much fun shit posting on Twitter. And here I said, Karen Ann Harlow's of the House Anarchy, first of her name. National Secretary of the Libertarian Party in exile, mother of parrots, the unbroken, herder of butts and sayer of mean words. And I love the response to this. Somebody said, needs more lasers. I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, I just have way, way too much fun on Twitter. Let me see if there's anything else good on Twitter today. Oh, here I said, not a good look for staffers to be picking fights with members. They are allowed to be upset. So far, maybe the LNC can throw them out too. And then somebody said to me, she's indecorous. This is a joke that doesn't stop giving. So just so you know, if you're not following me on Twitter, Michael Malice is better, but I'm okay. Okay? I'm okay. All right. Now we're going to go. Yes, I am a shit poster on Twitter. I admit it fully. That's what Twitter is for. If it's not for shit posting, what is it for? Nothing. All right, guys. Okay, so I'm going to close with the grifting. I did meet my goal for November, so thank you. But in the low bar, and that's like the notes, the show notes, I didn't see Michael Malice on Tim Pool tonight, but I'll have to watch it. I didn't see that response, Shannon. I'm sorry. I haven't been on Twitter for a while. My phone ran out of juice at lunch break today. And I was at work. Can't tweet at work. I don't want to get fired on my first day. So in the low bar, which is the notes, the show notes, the link to my re-election campaign is there. I wanted to show you guys something else. Sorry, not sorry. Brian Holtz, who we talked about last time, the biggest prag there is, but a history buff. We hardly ever agree on anything. One more thing, 30 minutes later. I want to show you what Brian Holtz said about my suspension. And he asked me to post this publicly, so it's not revealing a private message. Okay. Now, I disagree with him on the top part, but look at his title. JudCom correctly, I disagree with him, upholds unjustified Harlow suspension. So even Brian Holtz thinks my suspension is unjustified. He just has the opinion, though, that the JudCom is basically just make sure procedure was followed. Okay, so I disagree with him there. But check out what he said. The LNC grounds for suspending Harlos run the gamut from weak to comical. And let's see, and that's true. He says there's no evidence of material harm to the party. Correct. So I thought that was pretty good. I'm appalled and embarrassed at the arguments that had to be processed in this case, even more so than by the LNC dysfunction that motivated it. He's right. He isn't right on the JudCom correctly. But he's absolutely right here. The LNC grounds run the gamut from weak to comical. Brian and I have always gotten along. Okay. Now, 1.5 hours later. I am going to go now. I can't believe they removed me either, Miss Prepper, but as you can tell, they haven't broken me. And they won't. As Atia said in Rome, far better women than them have tried. And where are they now? I haven't damaged the party. That's why, JJ. I've made the party stronger. I brought us back to the party of principle. All right, y'all. I hope you have an awesome night. And I will see you tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow. I'm hoping tonight will be the last time I talk about this issue. I've got other things I'd like to talk about. Delaware. On Sunday, the Delaware hearing is coming up. I'd like to talk about Delaware. I've got more information. I'm going to roast the LNC some more, but it won't be about this. It'll be about Delaware. Okay, guys, good night. I'm going to get some rest, and I appreciate you more than you could possibly know.
Given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.